Welcome to the Deepak Saini Show.
He said he gon' huff and puff and blow my mind up. You meet the island girl, she might dirty wine up.
Welcome to the Deepak Saini Show. I'd like to thank J23 for the intro music. You can find a link to her music in the show description. This is a special recording done live at Potapalooza 2023. My guest today is Michelle Ricketts. Michelle, welcome to the Deepak Saini Show.
Thank you, Deepak. So thrilled to be with you today.
Awesome. I'm so thrilled to have you. We had a little snafu with trying to get your bio here. So why don't you just start off and tell us a little bit about yourself and maybe how and then how you got to doing what you're doing today.
Absolutely. Well, I actually have a background in corporate, over 35 years in 3 different industries: media, transportation, and logistics, and credit card processing on the back end. And during that time, I had a side hustle. I did events, started with fashion shows and then got into trade shows.
Cool.
And I did an event series for entrepreneurs in 2017, 2018. And that really showed me there was a gap between some of the things I'd learned in corporate and courses I had done in different things, different areas, and what entrepreneurs have access to, and in some cases, even the knowledge. So I wanted to close that gap. And that's when I became a business consultant, having been restructured 3 times, downsized 3 times in my career. I said, I'm done with the corporate world. I want to move over to entrepreneurship full time. And that's what got me started.
Awesome. Thank you for that story. So credit card processing, logistics, and what was the other industry?
Media is where I started.
Media. Okay.
Magazine. Yeah.
And what was the type of roles that you did in those industries?
So throughout those, I was an account executive, so mostly sales. But as I got into the credit card processing, I was definitely working with higher end $1 million, $1 billion companies. And there's a lot of relationship, contract negotiations, introduction of new products, all of that. So it is sales, but a little bit different than just straightforward selling.
Got it. And then how did you, I had a 20 plus year in corporate as well. I'm a CPA by my first profession.
Nice.
But how did you get into, that in the first place? Did you take marketing in school, or like how did that happen?
I actually went to college for media, for advertising. And that was back when we were still doing it on computers and not of the digital age of today. And that's what I went to college for, and then started working for a newspaper. And Conrad Black came in and did his buy-up and restructure. And then I started working for a magazine and after that.
Got it. So you also mentioned, that you called a side hustle. And I like to joke that when I started coaching, it was originally as a side hustle, but way before anybody actually ever called it that. But event planning, like, tell me a little bit about this. How did that fall into place as a side hustle?
Yes, absolutely. Well, I ended up meeting, and I don't remember how, but I ended up meeting a former Miss Canada, and she had won a beauty pageant, and she did fashion shows. And so I was her assistant for about 6 months. And I sort of thought, I can kind of do this on my own. So I started doing shows on my own. I worked for the Bay, which was a large department store at the time, and worked with their events area and did fashion shows for the different, they have every season from wedding season to back to school, all of that. And then started doing fashion shows at trade shows. I did that for 3 or 4 years. And then I decided I wanted to do an event series for entrepreneurs where I brought in speakers to share their expertise with the business owners that they could then take away and utilize in their business and hopefully have more time off. And 3-Day Weekend Lifestyle was my brand that I did that under at that time.
And what was the target? I know you're not doing that now, but or maybe you are. But what was the target audience for that series? Like, what type of entrepreneurs were your clientele?
Yeah, it was small to medium sized businesses, and really not one specific type of industry or silo of entrepreneur. So we had everything from retail to service industry, product. There was all different types of attendees and guests that we had at those events. It was more of a boutique event, so it wasn't a large conference type of thing. It was definitely a boutique event.
Okay. So then now you mentioned earlier, you kind of like translated that experience into kind of filling that niche you do now. So maybe you could just flush that a little bit more, like who are you working with and kind of what's the service you provide?
Yeah, so now I'm very focused on really a couple of different areas. The first is their foundation. So looking at what the business owner has set up in the way of their systems, their processes, their scheduling and time blocking and outsourcing, delegating, because that's really the foundation of a business, and being able to scale from there. If you don't have those elements set up well, you're not really going to be able to scale, and you're going to be still giving yourself a job, basically. So
I don't mean to interrupt. Would you also include that be like the right people in the right spots as well, as far as their team?
Yes, of course. So when
Okay.
if it's your own team, and even if you're delegating and outsourcing to someone else, you still want to have the right people for the job that you need done. So that's very, very key. And that's typically not the owner. And that's what we see a lot, especially in startups and small businesses, where the owner's literally doing everything. And often they want to sell their business down the road, and you can't sell a business that a investor or new owner is going to come in and want to work 80 hours a week. That just doesn't happen.
Yeah.
So you have to be able to replace yourself in some of the areas and do your area of expertise or your superpower that you can then delegate and outsource the rest to others. And as you said, having the right people in the right places. So that's one key. And then the other key is, when you're able to do that and have your foundation set up properly, can you then step away but have your business still make you money? And that recurring revenue is based on looking at having different revenue channels or different revenue streams, as well as what's the product or service or course that's going to allow you to make money while you sleep, as they say, or as you step away. And when you've got those two areas balanced, then that's when you've got a business that you can start to look at that somebody else may be interested to buy, or that you're just not spending all your time in. And part of that is also having your IP developed. So your talking points, your branding, your unique selling proposition, all of those things, landing pages, lead capture, all of those things are part of that recurring revenue piece, because they're going to come into play with that.
So two questions that come from what you last just said there. So the first being, kind of that other revenue streams, is that actually working with and of course it's going to be different. Everyone's going to be unique. Every business is going to be unique. Every business owner is going to be unique, but working with them to see what those might be, things that are natural integrations with what they already do, and or also like something completely different, like, hey, you got extra cash flow, maybe you should invest in real estate. I'm just making up something, but you know what I mean? Is that part of that as well?
Yeah. So we do work with them to look at what makes sense in the business. When it's a product business, then that is often an offshoot of or something complementary to their product. Excuse me, but in a service business, that's not always necessarily the case. So it may be you're now bringing in a product, or as we said, it's a course or a training or something that doesn't require you to be doing it. And if it does in the way of a course or a training, then what part of it is them, and what other areas can we use that are either AI or talking heads AI, or having voiceovers, and that different thing. So it's not all them. And then we can develop that course, that training, or that program to then be now a product that they can sell.
Okay. And then the second question I had is, because earlier you kind of twice mentioned about being able to have a business that's sellable. Is that part of your service as well? Is actually getting that exit strategy? Maybe it's 5 years away, 10 years, 2 years, to actually build the systems and the processes to a point where it's actually a sellable business. Is that also what you do?
Well, and I think Simon Sinek and several others always talk about start with the end in mind. And it's that type of premise that I don't necessarily help them do that. I do have partners that I can introduce clients to help them sell, that are brokers, and that's their area of expertise. But if you don't set it up correctly in the first place, then as we said, that's not going to happen. So one of the first things that I do have them do as we're looking at that foundational piece is looking at their future org chart to say, what do you want that business to look like? Who are the bodies, and literally putting in the positions that they want to have that's going to take that onus off them. And then you can look at, okay, what positions do we want to have in-house, and which ones do we want to have outsourced? And that's how they start to grow to that future. So they're not necessarily there yet, but I say their imagined best future.
I love that. I love that. And the one thing I also let's go in a little bit of a different direction here for a second here, that health and wellness is also a big part of your life. So maybe you can expand on that a little bit. Where does that how did that come to your life, and what role does it play for you?
Yes, well, health and wellness, I've always been into athletics. I started with track and field in school. I was a bodybuilder in my 20s. Did a couple of competitions, all amateur, nothing professional. Early age, mom had us in ballet and gymnastics. So I've always done something athletic, and that has carried through my life. Even now, I still do something 5 or 6 days a week. Used to do the gym and workouts myself for most of my career, 7 days a week. And then I decided I wanted somebody else to start thinking about what to do. So I do a lot of classes now, but I'll do boxing and workout classes, spin. I snowboard, I play tennis, I ski. So athletics has always been key for me. And it has really brought me forward through many, many things in my life. And I actually do a keynote where I talk about the tenacious leader. And that is really being able to move forward past challenges and things that life throws at you, because things do happen. And being able to come out on that other side. And throughout my career with various things, 2 broken wrists as I started my consultancy, but blew my knee out in my 30s, had reconstructive surgery on both feet, but not at the same time. All of these things that I was able to go into more healthy, and coming out the other side, I came out faster. And my recovery and my rehab and wrist is one especially that a lot of people never get their full mobility back in their wrists and strength, and I have. And so I realized early on that ability to utilize health, fitness, nutrition, eating properly, getting enough sleep, all of those things contribute to me being able to do what I do and be that tenacious leader. And so I bring that into my consulting with clients, both one-on-one and in groups, to show them that you've got to take care of yourself. Then you can take care of your business. And I know it's an adage that everybody says, but it is very, very true. And it's everything from your fitness, your wellness, your nutrition, your hydration, all of those things have helped me in my business. And I bring that forward for my clients.
Yeah, Michelle, you say that like it's an adage and everyone says it. And yes, they do. And I say that as well, but most people still don't follow it.
Right.
I found not only myself personally, but with many of my clients and some of my, very senior executive type clients as well. It's like when they get their health in check, they perform better in their business.
Yes.
They think, they make better and faster decisions. Their relationships, both professionally and personally, are better because they're not inflamed or whatever, stressed and that sort of thing. So I totally buy that and work with that with my clients myself. Michelle, I do have to ask this question. You said track and field. What was your discipline?
Well, I did a number of things. So 100, 200, 400, 800, and 400 hurdles, and high jump and discus.
And you just had to throw discus in there too. Like it wasn't
discus
enough, right?
Yeah, I wasn't one of my focuses, but yes, I did do it a little bit as well.
Again, Michelle, we just met, whatever, 15 minutes ago. So you don't know anything about me. I had my health transformation as well, and I was very unhealthy and obese as a young person. So, but with that body type, shot put was my one track and field event that I could actually do something in. So I love that. So
and congratulations for the transformation.
Thank you. Yes. I appreciate that. So kind of staying on this as we just wrap up here in the last couple of minutes here, staying on that health and wellness theme. Obviously, you're probably doing a ton of things, but if you could boil it down to sort of the top 1, top 2 non-negotiables that you have to do every day for your health and longevity, what would it be?
I would say it is some type of fitness in the morning. So I do an hour or a little bit more every 5 or 6 days a week. And it is a non-negotiable. I say to people, it's my religion. People will often ask me to a call at 8 a.m. It's like, no, I'm coming back from my workout, and that doesn't change. So that is my religion.
Awesome. I love it. And I do some sort of movement exercise every day as well, and stretching. That's an added on, coming from my past back injury. And you have a gift to share with the audience as well. Could you briefly describe what that is?
Yes. So I have a Tenacious Leader Scorecard. So it will show them where they are. And leaders come in different forms. So it doesn't mean they're necessarily a people leader. It could be a business leader, and a leader of an association or a sports team, or the leader of your family. But in all of those roles, you're leaning forward and you're taking care of yourself first. And it's mindset, mind, spirit, body, all of those things. So my Tenacious Leader Scorecard probably take about 10 minutes, but it'll give them some indication of where they are. And then a mini health and fitness guide that will give them some tips as well. And that's courtesy of a good friend of mine, Sean Gill. So I will share those two elements with your audience.
Awesome. So yeah, so everyone, the links for those free gifts, as well as all of Michelle's links to our website and on social and everywhere you can find her will be in the show notes right here. Michelle, any last word of wisdom or golden nugget you'd like to leave the audience?
Absolutely. I always like to say that if you can step away from your business for a day, a weekend, a week, or a month, and it can still operate without you, then you have things set up well, your systems, your processes, your intellectual property and recurring revenues, and congratulations. If not, then maybe we should talk.
All right. Well, I bet there's some people in my audience that they will fall in that category for sure. So give Michelle a call here. So Michelle, it's been a pleasure having you on the Deepak Saini show. I really enjoyed our although a little bit short conversation here at Potapalooza, but I really enjoyed it.
Thank you so much. A pleasure to be here, and I look forward to connecting with you again.
Awesome. So I'm going to throw it back to J23, who's going to play us out with some music. And again, thanks for listening to the Deepak Saini Show. Exceptional results for the exceptional you. This episode is brought to you by Optimizer's Mass Zymes. This is digestive enzymes that helps you break down your protein, fats, starches, and sugars. I've been using this product for, over a year now, specifically in a protein-heavy meal, because I really want to break down my protein to make sure I get the amino acids that I need for maintaining muscle growth, maintaining lean muscle mass. Super important as we age and all stages of life, really. So again, huge proponent of Mass Zymes. Check out the link below to see how you can get at least 10% off, if not more. Cheers.
Podcast produced by the Minted Green Company